What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Crush City Territory. I'm Chandler Rome, joined by Tyler Stafford on another playoff-less Astros weekend. A guy that could have been on the Astros, Jorge Polanco, just homered off of Tarek Skubal in Seattle to give the Mariners a 1-0 lead. Tyler, did you watch playoff baseball this week without the Astros in it, or were you more focused on other things?
I did. I found myself watching a lot during the week. I mean, I understand that, as someone who has been in the Tuesday at noon time slot before, I understand how frustrating that is as the local fan. But it rules if you work from home and you have a second monitor and you can just throw on playoff baseball for the whole week. So I really enjoyed that. It is strange to have that, but honestly, with the exception of them not having games on Friday, which I found to be an odd choice, I thought the wild card series went as good as possible for Major League Baseball. Like, all the games were good. 3 of the 4 series went to the third game. Good storylines, and they all rolled into each other really nicely throughout the day. So I enjoyed that quite a bit. What about you?
The Yankees-Red Sox series was great.
Yeah.
I love all 3 of those games were fun to watch. Garrett Crochet is an animal. Cam Schlittler is also an animal. That was a great series. I hated watching the Guardians and the Tigers just because I could not believe both of those teams made the playoffs. But, I mean, it's a different kind of brand of baseball. I mean, if you're in the pitching and if you're in the, defense optional on both sides, but it's a different brand. If you want home runs and scoring, that would not have been the series for you. But the Reds were, God, I cannot believe the Mets didn't make the playoffs.
That's bad.
The Reds are bad. That was not a fun series. And then Cubs Padres kind of went under the radar in terms of I don't know why it got maybe overshadowed by those other series, but that was a great series as well.
Great uniform matchup series too. Padres Cubs are A+ uniforms.
Yeah. So the wild card round went well. The beginning of the DS has not gone well. The Blue Jays have just absolutely bludgeoned the Yankees for the first 2 games, and those games.
I think that's gone well. I've enjoyed those.
Yeah, those games have not been close. They've not been that fun to watch. Trey Savage today. That kid's pretty good. It's been that has been fun about this. You've seen kind of new faces.
I thought that was going to be like a SoundCloud rapper, Trey the Savage or something, but turns out it's just some guy on the Blue Jays. Yeah. Both can split it though.
He can split change. It was A-Rod and Poppy and Derek Jeter after the game were they were trying to discuss amongst themselves how a split change works. And Derek Jeter basically is the old man. He was when I played, it was just a change up. And A-Rod was having to explain to him what a split change was. It was compelling television.
It was good, but like I said, I mainly watched the wild card because there were other important things this weekend. One, college football. Watch out, my Aggies are for real. Got you circled LSU on the calendar, so I'm ready for that one.
So all the chant leaders wore black. Is that how it worked?
Yeah, and it looked awesome. Don't even pretend that you didn't think that looked cool.
And so that was a departure because the chant people usually wear white, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are they the ones that if they say something wrong, they get expelled? Is that how it works?
I think you're thinking of Harry Potter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, it was awesome. Get out of here. And then friggin' Reveille showing up in the black eye patch looking like a pirate. It was great.
So it was the new Reveille, right?
New Reveille. And we also had one leave us here for all my Aggies out there. It was a rough one.
Did they parade her? Did they parade the corpse around the field with the Corps cadets? Is that how that works?
She is paraded eternally in our hearts. Okay. So it's kind of like a never-ending parade. Speaking of a never-ending parade, how was did you stay up until midnight Friday night for the Taylor Swift release, or did you listen to it first thing the next morning? Or was it Thursday night? Thursday night.
I stayed up.
Yeah, you did.
It's a good album. It's a good album. There's more skips than I would like. Just in terms, I think it's a very front-loaded album. If you listen to it,
disagree.
I think if you listen to it chronologically, I think the first 6 or 7 are really good, and then it kind of so.
What
But my second favorite song on the whole thing is "Honey," which is the second to last one. That's like
I
my
like
second
Honey.
favorite song on the whole album. The best song on the album is "Fate of Ophelia," the first song,
Agreed.
and it's very. She. I have been reading that she's gotten some criticism in like the music world for like not having good lead off songs, not having good like first tracks. This one slayed. She did.
It's very good.
Yes.
Yes. Alicia went to the like theater to watch it. And so she had fun there. You're insane. That's such a bad take. The first 2 songs are good. The run from Opalite to Eldest Daughter is trash. Those are terrible songs. I love Ruin the Friendship. I throughout the album, I thought so often, oh, the guy playing bass is freaking ripping it, that I went and looked up. Shellback or something. That's one of the guys who produced the album. The bass on this album rules. It's okay. It's like a 6 out of 10 overall album. But yeah, Ruin the Friendship is probably my favorite. Um, I love the music of Wood. It's not one that, necessarily fits my life experience, but I enjoy the music quite a bit of that one.
Actually, Romantic is savage. Like a lot of people didn't like that it's like just a blatant diss track, and she like lost some brownie points to some people for like having a diss track, but the writing is savage. Like
Well,
she did.
Charlie's prepping for a shot back. I saw she was in the studio, so watch out.
Can't wait for that. Now that we've
He's still
alienated,
here.
now that we've alienated everyone that's listening to this for actual, this is what happens when the Astros don't make the playoffs.
Yeah, what do you want us to talk about?
Like, would you like us to talk about Jorge Polanco, who maybe should have been on the Astros if they spent more money? But so we're going to talk about what we think the Astros offseason should entail, what their priorities are. Before we do that, I do want to give a little bit of an update as to what is going on with the leadership of the franchise. There is still no clarity. I spent a good bit of this week and weekend just doing what you're supposed to do, texting people, calling people, not getting many responses, to see what's going on. And what I arrived at is there is still a lot of uncertainty as to who is going to be managing this team, who is going to be general managing this team going into next year. Like we mentioned on the last show, if they're going to do this, and by they, it's Jim Crane. Like, I mean, this is Jim Crane's decision. He's the owner of the team. If Jim Crane is going to make leadership changes, you would think it has to come pretty imminently. Like, I can't give you a date. I don't know when. Jim Crane is not the easiest guy to predict. He's not the easiest guy to kind of read. He's done some drastic things before, and I think we could be heading toward something similar. But what we're going to talk about is maybe more, no matter who is running the team, no matter who is managing the team in 2026, they're still going to have the same sets of issues. They still have the same guys. They still have the same log jams in the infield and the outfield. The roster will look the same. They still have the same free agent guys going. So this discussion will be kind of independent of who is running the team. Now, it would make a little easier if we knew who was making the decisions, just so we could have some precedents and look at what they could do. But here we are. Here we are trying to figure it out on our own. So, Tyler, as you started to decompress from the season and started to look ahead, what would you say is their biggest priority this winter?
Whew. The biggest priority is figuring out what you're going to do with Paredes and Christian Walker. One of those guys has to go. I don't really think there's a way around that. Even if magically Isaac Paredes learned how to play second base over the offseason, then you're going to have this log jam of Altuve and Jordan in left field and DH, and you're not going to be able to get everybody in the lineup that you'd like to. I think you got to move on from one of those guys. So that's going to be the top priority. And then, you're always going to need pitching, but they definitely need, as we said all year, just some adult starting pitchers who you can trust to go 5 1/3 and give up 2 or 3 runs every fifth day for a whole season, and they have like one of those. So they're going to need a handful more before the season. What about you? What do you think the biggest priority is?
Yeah, I think it's pitching.
Yeah.
I think the infield and the out, like we'll get to the outfield in a bit with everybody out there, but I think the infield thing's going to kind of solve itself. I think that's it's something they have to address and something they have to look at, but it's under one of those like good problem to have situations. Like obviously Christian Walker didn't perform the way that he thought he would coming here, but I mean the second half of the year he was better than he was in the first. Like he was playing well toward the end. He's a guy that again, it's a decent problem to have if you have too many, halfway decent to average players that are waiting to get in there. So that'll figure itself out. I think the thing with the rotation, like they're going to go to spring training without Framber Valdez. They're going to go to spring training with Hunter Brown and Christian Javier as the only two pitchers that you can, without a shadow of a doubt, pencil into their starting rotation. And on paper, that should give you some solace. You should take comfort in that. Christian Javier, since 2022, so his last 3 seasons, has a 4.47 ERA and 233 2/3 innings pitched. Part of that was he was injured. Part of that he was coming back from injury, but let's not forget, like he had an unreal season in 2022, parlayed that into that contract extension, and then was just okay in 2023. Was not, I would not say he was bad, but was not. He had a 93 ERA plus, that is a below league average pitcher through 160 innings. They need him to take. I don't think take the next step is the right word because we've seen him take that next step, but they need to get him back to something close to 2022 version of Christian Javier. Not saying he has to go throw no hitters every time out, but they need to get him closer to that version because as of now, it is Hunter Brown and Christian Javier. And, Spencer Arrighetti had the elbow thing toward the end of the year. As far as I know, he's not going to need surgery, but this is a franchise that just watched what can happen when you rely on guys coming back from elbow injuries or elbow soreness or discomfort or whatever you want to call it. You just witnessed what happens when you put too much faith into that. So even though Spencer Arrighetti may come to spring training with a clean bill of health, like they need to have some insurance policies. And, as much as people don't want to hear it, Lance McCullers is going to be involved. He's making $18 million next year. He's going to have a healthy offseason for the first time in about 3 or 4 years. They're going to give him a chance to come to spring training and compete for a rotation spot for no other reason than they need the bodies. Like they're going to have to go make external additions, at least one starting pitcher, maybe 2. But Tyler, I think the rotation is their biggest need this winter, and it's not even close.
Yeah, I mean, like same point you made about Javier. Spencer Arrighetti is also not somebody that we talked about that this year. Like he's a good pitcher, but he's not somebody that you're like number 2, number 3 starter, like for sure for the year. Yeah, Christian Javier's strikeout numbers are really concerning. In 2021 and 2022, he was 11.5 strikeouts per 9. In the 3 years since, again, like you said, injury, but 2023 he was healthy. It was 8.87 and then 8.3 this year. That's not going to get better as his velocity drops as he gets older and is recovering from surgery. So yeah, I mean, you're right. Like even getting back close to even before that, I mean, he was a 1.20 ERA plus pitcher his first 2 seasons. Like even getting to that is far away from where he's been the past couple of years. So yeah, I mean, they're going to have to find rotation depth for sure.
And we've joked about it the last 2 or 3 pods. Justin Verlander is going to be a free agent. It would be the least surprising news in the world if he rejoins this team. Josh said it on the last pod. We've said it as many times as we can say it. He and Jim Crane are very close. I would not be surprised if that becomes the thing and that gets done. Justin Verlander was very good for most of the second half of this season. And again, I don't know that they want to keep betting on a 43-year-old, but he's the one guy I wouldn't doubt. So that's kind of a snapshot of what is out there. Like Verlander will be out there. A couple of the Padres starters are going to head into free agency as well. They've got there's some thought out there about free agents, but Dana Brown, again, if he's in charge, who knows? Dana Brown did say at the end of season news conference that they may have to trade for an arm. So maybe they have identified some people that they think can be trade candidates, things of that nature. I'm not sure. As far as what they have internally depth-wise, I know a lot of people are going to ask about AJ Bluebaugh. Obviously has put himself – he's going to have a role in this team in 2026, at least this year, and at least with where he was this season. Internally, the Astros viewed him as a reliever. They think his future is as a reliever, a swingman, and they used him as such this year. Like, even in his traditional starts, outside of his debut, even in his traditional starts, they only let him go through the order like maximum of twice. They don't think there's enough with him to be able to get through an order 2 or 3 times. They think that the sequencing needs to be better, that he needs to develop maybe more of his secondary pitches, and they like him a lot as a reliever. Now, that's not going to preclude them from bringing him to spring training, stretching him out as a starter, and then if he makes the opening day rotation, great. If he doesn't, then they can figure out what they want to do with him. But they'll have Bluebaugh. They'll have former Crush City Territory guest Ethan Pecco, who had a very nice season in AAA. They'll have Miguel Ulloa. They'll have Bryce Mayer is probably your in the periphery guy lurking, was the minor league pitcher of the year this year, threw very, very well in AA. So they've got options, but they need to go get innings, because for as much as people want to just cast Framber Valdez aside and wish him well wherever he ends up, I mean, this is a guy that threw 192 innings for you last year and has thrown at least 185 in each of the last, I believe, 4 seasons. I don't think that's one of those things, like, you don't know what you have until you don't have it. Even on Framber's bad starts, he'd still get you into the 5th or 6th inning. And there's something to be said for that. And there's something to be said about the volume of innings that they're going to be missing when Framber Valdez goes elsewhere.
For sure. Why don't they see Bluebaugh as a starter? He's not a 2-pitch. He throws 3 pitches. He throws his fastball about 55% of the time, sweeper 20%, changeup 20%. He did not give up a hit on 98 changeups that he threw last year, mostly to lefties. But I don't know. Like, what am I missing on Bluebaugh? Why do they not see him as a starter?
I think the gentlest way I can put it is just because you have 3 pitches doesn't mean that all 3 pitches are good. He's just got, I mean, it's part of his evolution, right? He's got to mature, and he's got to, the secondary stuff has to get better. Like, they think the fastball plays, the changeup has been good for him. The sweeper, I don't even know if it's a sweeper or a slider or a traditional slider, but it's gotten results. But, like, again, they need him to be more consistent. And it's one of these things where hitters, they've got data and stuff that hitters see it one time and they're like, oh, it fools them, and they're quickly able to make the adjustment. So I just think it's not an indictment on him, and it's not, saying he can't be a starter. Like, again, if he goes this offseason and refines, some of his secondary stuff and can find a way to sequence and get through a lineup 2 or 3 times, they'll put him in the starting rotation if he proves it. But that's why I wanted to be clear. Like, when he came up this year, the 3 or 4 times he came up, and the way they used him was because, as of this moment, as the AJ Bluebaugh you saw in 2025, they viewed more as a reliever type for the future. Now, that's not to say he can't improve, can't get better. And again, I believe they will bring him to camp and they will stretch him out, because you need as much starting depth as you can. So, yeah, I just think the stuff needs to be refined a little bit. I just think that
literally did not give up an earned run the second time through the order as a starter. He had a 170.
How many plate appearances?
Over 5 innings, and 5 innings as a starter too. And then as a reliever, he did 14 innings First time through the order, a 1.84 ERA, and then 6 innings, second time through the order as a reliever, 1.5 ERA. I don't doubt that there's something there, but none of the numbers I would say back up that concern. Like, yeah, third time through their order is hard for everybody, but he literally hasn't even done that yet. Like they haven't allowed him. He faced 2 batters, or he got 2 outs last year, facing someone for the third time, and in the 2 batters they faced. So like I don't see it. I mean, you know, I I obviously don't want to be wrong, but that might be the case. But he's been very, very good. That's surprising to me.
Yeah, this is one of those don't shoot the messenger things.
Oh yeah,
Because I'm just informing you what they said. I don't have enough proprietary like advanced data to agree or disagree with their assessment. But you did see how they used him this year. Like very rarely did he get a lineup a third time. He was a pretty quick like get through the order once, maybe get through the top of the order a second time, and then we'll get you out of there. Like they were proactive in how they managed him, just because they knew that this was a possibility. And just he threw more innings this year than he probably ever has in his life. And it was one of those things where he was vacillating between roles so much that I just think it was one of these years for him. It was a big year personally for him. He made a lot of strides, but a lot happened. And so I think he's now got to kind of take a deep breath, like understand, like I'm on the major league radar. Not even on the radar. Like I could contribute to this team, pretty effectively. Like now he's got to kind of figure out what the next step is because usually when you look at player development, you look at it as, all right, the first step is to get noticed. The second step is to get on the radar and debut. And then it's like, all right, now you're a big leaguer. Now you've got to figure everything else out. And so I think that is why I think that's, we could see a completely different AJ Blueball when he comes to camp this year. So I just think it's a big offseason for him in that aspect, just knowing that he is a major leaguer now and he's got to do some different things. So who knows? Maybe he shows up and he throws 5 pitches now and they're all great and he can be like the 4th starter in the rotation. Who knows? But they're going to need, all due respect to AJ Blueball. AJ Blueball is not going to save the rotation. They're going to need some outside help. They're going to need, I'd say at least 1 external arm, probably 2 to feel good about it. We don't know who's going to be making the decisions on that, but we shall see. Another person that's going to be pretty critical in kind of how this all transpires is Jose Altuve on the position player side. A very odd year for him. Statistically, his worst season since 2013. The Astros lost 111 games that year. Jose Altuve was a novelty by that point. He was not the Jose Altuve that everyone else has now grown to love and know as one of the greatest players in franchise history. So this was a tough season for him. He played injured the last month or so. Played more probably than he should have as a 35-year-old player, but it's one of those things they needed him to play. So we'll see, and we'll talk about what Jose Altuve is going to mean for the 2026 Astros because he is the focus of our DraftKings player spotlight. Tyler, we mentioned it. This was an un-Jose Altuve-like season. A 112 OPS plus. He only, the batting average was 265. Still somehow, managed to lead the team in hits with 156 hits, but went through, he's a streaky hitter. He's a streaky player. That's just what he is. But his peaks and valleys this year were probably more pronounced than at any point in his career. And I wonder how much of it had to do with the fact that he played 155 games and took a team high 654 plate appearances at age 35.
While learning a new position, while being hurt. So 105 games into the season, Altuve had an 810 OPS. He was hitting 284. That was through the end of July. And then the final 50 games that he played over the last 2 months, he hit 226 with a 689 OPS. I think it's a combination of a lot of things, whether it's age or being injured, whatever. I think that's what you would chalk it up to because, again, you had 105 games where you saw him be normal Jose Altuve. Like an 810 OPS is exactly what you would expect from Altuve. Maybe a little higher. You'd hope for a little higher. But I mean, that's a reasonable age 35 Jose Altuve season. And then he just cratered at the end. And, like you said, like I would imagine that if he had been the only one injured and the Astros were up quite a bit in the division, he would not have played hardly any at the end of the year. Like he was clearly in pain. And like you said, probably playing a whole lot more than he should have been, but they needed him. Everybody else was hurt. So yeah, I mean, you hope that he can just kind of rest up and get better in the off season. And then, he ended the year with a 770 OPS. So, I mean, it came down quite a bit in those last 2 months. Still an above average hitter. But I think there's more for him next year if he's able to stay healthy and not have to play as much as he did this year, especially in the field.
I think the thing for me is like that you were talking about earlier, like they've got to figure out the Paredes Walker logjam in the infield. I think first of all, they got to figure out what do we want to do. Like Jose Altuve needs to be the first thing to figure out. Like, is he your left fielder? Is he DHing most of the time? Is he playing second base at all? Once you figure that out, then everything else will kind of fall into place because like you're not trading Jose Altuve. Like he's on the team no matter what. And he's going to be a big part of what this team does. So they figure him out first because if they do like reverse course and like, you know what, like we need DH spot for Jordan most of the time, like let's just put him back at second base and we'll live with the defense. Then it makes all the decision making easier as to, okay, well, like it's pretty obvious that Paredes or Walker is an odd man out there. Or if they're like, you know what, we'll platoon, we'll do a quasi platoon of him and Alvarez in left field. Then it's like, all right, well, second base is now open. Now you can start to think about maybe do we ask Paredes this offseason to try working there? I think it all begins and ends with Altuve. They've got to figure out what is best for him to, as much as you want him to play, they've got to figure out a way where he is not taking 654 plate appearances. It's asking too much of a guy that is getting older. And I can't, verbatim, and I can't, say with unflinching accuracy that, age is why he declined this year. But it's just kind of common sense. Like father time comes for everyone. And, look, George Springer's having a resurgent season right now at 34. Like this doesn't mean like he's on the full decline, but it does mean that they're going to have to manage him differently. He's going to have to be managed differently now than he was at any point in this era. So, I think once they figure out what they're doing with Altuve, then everything else kind of falls into place. And I think one stat from this season that just kind of shows you how important he still is to this team. In the Astros wins this season, Jose Altuve / 290, 340, 540. That's an 880 OPS. In their losses, he was 235, 316, 322. That's a 638 OPS. So that should just show you how much he still means to this team, even when he just had one of the worst seasons of his career. They need to figure out a way to manage him better, to manage him knowing that he is an older player now and he's going to have to be treated as such. That's not to say he's not an everyday player, but they're going to have to find a way to better manage Jose Altuve, which I think that will in turn lead to, getting the logjam solved in the infield. So that's what they need.
Go ahead.
No, you go.
Am I reading this correctly? Can you pull up Jose Altuve and George Springer's pages and look at their ages and just make sure that I'm not crazy, that I'm not reading this wrong?
Yes. Springer's a year older than him.
Did everyone know that? Did everyone know that George Springer is a year older than Jose Altuve? That seems crazy to me. Is that true?
It is. Like you think George is falsifying his age?
That's crazy to me. I don't think anyone's falsifying ages. I'm just saying you forget that Springer came up older and Altuve debuted at 21. But that I never would in a million years would have guessed that. That's crazy to me. So look, next season is Altuve's renaissance year. Look at old George, the geezer over there, lapping Altuve in age. So yeah, next year is Altuve's breakout year. He's going to do what Springer did this year and have a 161 OPS plus and put up a 5-win season. It's coming.
Yeah, you can almost bet on it.
Mm.
Football is back, and so is your shot at big wins. With DraftKings Pick Six, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL, your game day instincts can score you real money fast. Here's the play. Just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats and unlock the upside every snap brings. The better your calls, the bigger your payout. This season, play your player instincts. Download the DraftKings Pick Six app now and use code FOUL. That's code FOUL. Play just $5, get $50 in Pick Six bonus picks. Make the call, ride the upside. In partnership with DraftKings Pick Six, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick Six not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick Six bonus picks that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at picksix.draftkings.com/promos.
So if you were given the keys, and who knows who could have the keys to this thing within the next week or so, where do you think Altuve is best suited for not only himself to keep himself upright and playing well, but within the constructs of what the Astros have on their roster currently? Like, what would you do?
I would ask Jose Altuve which one he wanted to play and just go from there. You know, I don't think with your current roster, like last year, I think, you know, like you said, they had a very clear thing of we're focusing on infield defense. We're going to see if Altuve is okay with this, whatever. He just had a full year where he got to play all 3 of them. You tell us, buddy, which one do you want to do? Because they need him right. I mean, I would imagine in an ideal scenario, it would be a split of left field and DH with him and Jordan and sprinkling in some second base days every once in a while, like they did this year, but try to trim it to closer to 140 games instead of 155 or whatever he played this year. So yeah, I mean, look, it's Jose Altuve. You kind of decide. I think that his choice would be similar to what the Astros would be, and that's a split of left field and DH.
Either way, they're going to have to get like uncomfortable with one of these two things. Like either Jose Altuve is going to have to play a lot of left field as a 36-year-old player next year, or they're just going to have to take the reins off of Alvarez and just say, you know what, like we've treated him with kid gloves. Like we've been worried about the knees and worried about moving. Like it's either like you're going to play 80, 85 games in left field and we're just not going to worry about it. But they're going to have to get uncomfortable one of those two ways, because that's
none
been
of
the
those
whole
injuries were fielding related, though. It's not like him playing left field contributed to anything like that.
No, but like that's been their worry about him the last 2 or 3 years has been that, you know, he doesn't recover well after like some long days in the outfield. Like they want to.
Well, I mean, as long as no one
back a little
hides a slippery home plate in front of the Crawford boxes, he should be fine.
Right. And they have to also like look at what's the pitching staff going to look like. Like Christian Javier is a fly ball pitcher to the extreme. Like Hunter Brown used to be a ground ball pitcher. Now he just strikes everyone out. So it's not really balls in play. And you have to look at how your pitching staff's going to be composed. Like, do you prioritize outfield defense? Do you prioritize, like, how much is that going to be a priority behind the pitching staff? Like the reason they were so gung ho on solidifying their infield defense last year was because they believed they were going to have one of the best ground ball rates of any pitching staff in baseball. It didn't turn out like that because Hunter Brown took this next step and he wasn't just getting like weak contact with the sinker early in counts like he was last year. Like he was a bona fide ace. Like, and so like that took away some of the thought that they were going to be such a ground ball heavy pitching staff. Obviously they still had Fromber, but yeah,
that's why, to me, who cares about the like? I get that was like their main focus last year, but you just said Like, yes, they did have one of the better infield defenses. Great. But like you said, the pitching staff didn't even end up being what they thought it was going to be. And their problem was they couldn't hit. So figure that part out first. You know, where can you get the best bats in your lineup on a most consistent basis? And if you got some gaps in the defense, you can figure that out later. But I'd rather lose an 8-7 game than a 4-0 game.
Speaking of not being able to hit, again, we don't know who's in charge of anything at this point, so I can't really speak on coaching staff or anything of who's going to be coaching what. We talked about the hitting coaches on the last pod. The wonderful people at Foul Territory were nice enough to tweet out a clip of it. People had
how did that go for you? I don't think I was tagged in that one.
It didn't go well. I was tagged in it. Don't worry.
Oh, good.
It didn't go well. But we've asked, like, it's been the existential question the last 2-3 weeks, or really 2-3 months. Like, is this philosophy or is this personnel? Like, how do they address whoever is making the decisions? How do they
Blanco just hit another home run?
Oh, he did? Off of Scooble?
Yeah. Almost Astros legend Jorge Polanco. Yeah. 2 home runs in this game too. Continue.
So I guess as you look up and down the lineup, it's pretty obvious. Like, they're not running this lineup back. Like,
good Lord.
They can't
lineup. It was all AAA guys for most of the year.
Well, like even the entrenched guys.
Yeah.
Like, there's going to be changes. Is there a player or two that you look at and you think, man, that guy kind of looks expendable. That guy kind of looks like, maybe they make a good baseball trade. Like, find another team that is in need of a position of a guy at this certain position, try to get something and, a facelift for the offense to get a different kind of offensive profile in there. Because look, like I mentioned in that clip that everyone went nuts about, like, even if they get rid of the hitting coaches, even if it's a new hitting philosophy, like, you still have the same problem of all these guys have the same offensive profile. So they're going to have to do something different. And I don't know if that's remaking the roster. I don't know if that's just simply getting new voices in. I don't know. But if they are going to remake the roster and they do decide it's a personnel problem, is there anyone that you've identified that you're like, hey, like, maybe we get that free swinger out and we can backfill the need and we can get some help from another team in a trade?
I think they have one tradable asset that they could actually benefit. Like, obviously Paredes is a tradable asset. Christian Walker is not, because no one's gonna you're not gonna upgrade by trading him. It would just be like, internally, we'd rather get rid of this guy to keep Paredes. It's not like you're going to trade Walker and get somebody better back. Jeremy Pena is your other tradable asset. He's not going anywhere. And also, who are you going to get back that's going to give you Jeremy Pena value? The only other tradable asset that I think you can get major league ready good value from is Brian Abreu. He's got 1 year of team control left. Probably not going to re-sign him, especially because you've committed a ton of money to Hader. There's maybe 5 closers in baseball that you would stamp as, Abreu is not better than this guy. But I mean, there's going to be some teams in the offseason that are going to want to shore up their bullpen that feel like that's the last piece that they need to go far in the postseason. And Brian Abreu fits that team perfectly. The Astros have other needs than that are more pressing. So that would be the person that I would look to if I were in charge this offseason is, what handful of teams really need an elite setup closer guy that have some young, expendable big league hitters.
I did not think you were going there. I would have probably mentioned the guy that catches a lot of Brian Abreu's.
Yeah, but I mean, again, okay, you trade him, but you're not getting back somebody that someone else is excited. Like, those are depressed assets. Like, yes, you can trade him if you think you have somebody else that can fill that void. Victor Caratini is a free agent. Like, they're gonna have to sign a catcher anyway. And if you trade Yiner, like, yeah, you could get somebody back that could eventually be better, maybe, but you're not getting back a guy that has anywhere near the ceiling that Yiner has, because other teams just watched him for the last year too and are not paying for the ceiling. They're paying for, oh, you want to get rid of this guy. Like, if you're trying to sell high on a guy and get back big talent, I mean, maybe it could be a combination of you trade Brian Abreu, you get a catcher back that you're excited about, then Yiner is expendable. But you trade Yiner for who? You know, like, what catcher are you thinking is going to come back that is that much of an upgrade that you're going to be able to acquire for Yiner Diaz?
Well, my thought was not that they're going to trade Yiner Diaz to another team and for a catcher. Like, you can go re-sign Victor Caratini and go get another veteran on a 1 or a 2 year deal. Let those two guys share the workload, and your catching situation is solved. I guess I'm more thinking of, like, you know, everyone, when it comes to trades, everyone looks just maybe sometimes at the production, right? And yes, Yiner did not have a good year. Yiner Diaz also has 3 more years of team control, which is insanely valuable and will automatically mean you're going to get a lot in return for him. If you are trading 3 years of control of a catcher that, look, I know he didn't have a good year last year, but he is a catcher that has hit 20 home runs in 2 of the last 3 years. He's in his last 3 seasons combined, he has a 110 OPS plus behind the plate. I mean, everyone can watch and see the approach is not great, and he hasn't improved the approach. And it's part of just kind of what can be maddening about watching him sometimes. But you're telling me there's not a team out there that would like really want like a bat first behind the plate catcher? Like, if they think they can fix him defensively, and maybe if they've got a lineup that's not like the Astros, if they've got a lineup that's full of passive guys that, you know, don't swing a lot, that see a ton of pitches, put this dude in the 5 or the 6 hole and he can bang out a homer on the first or second pitch he sees. Like, I just think I think he has more value than a lot of people think. And I think the thing about, you're not far off on Brian Abreu. Like, I agree with you that it is something that if they're not going to re-sign him, they should probably, you know, think about it. But, like, remember, Brian Abreu has 1 more year of team control. So you're trading, like, you traded Kyle Tucker with 1 year team control left. Kyle Tucker's a maniac. Like, he's a superstar. Like, that's why you got all that back. Like, trading 1 year of a reliever, and relievers are the most volatile position in sports. Not just in baseball, maybe in sports. Relief pitchers are like, you have no idea what they're going to come back and look like. Like, guys that pitched very well in this bullpen this year, you have no idea what they're going to come to spring training and look like. It's the most volatile position in sports. Brian Abreu has been immune to that volatility because he's been so good for his lengthy Astros career. I just think they would have a better chance of getting a more substantial package back if they looked to move on from Yiner. Again, I have no insight that they will. I don't know who's going to be making the decisions, but I think that's something that would solve a couple things. It would solve, you know, Yiner's defense behind the plate is not good. It hasn't been good. It hasn't gotten much better. They need to make some strides there. It would help. That takes a free swinger and a chaser out of your lineup. If you backfill it with another bat that is a little more passive, is a little more of a defined approach, then that helps. And, you know, I mean, it's just, again, that could help address your rotation. Does a team include a starter with like a year or 2 of control left if they really want? Like, there's a lot of different avenues this can go. So I think that, to me, would be the guy that I would look at as, you know, I'm not saying they're going to do it. I'm not saying they're going to entertain doing it, but it's one of those that has always kind of made a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, they've got a lot of options, a lot of guys that are going to get non-tendered here soon, and a lot of pieces moving around. So, yeah, who knows what's going to happen? And like you said, who knows who will be making the happening? It's late. Sorry. So what does this week look like in the thought process timeline do you think?
If I knew, I would tell you. If
Well,
I knew,
but you're just holding it back from everyone, right? Like,
if I
everything.
knew, I would have reported it by now. If I knew, I would have told you at the beginning. Like, when I tell you, like, basically everyone is in the dark, like, believe me when I tell you that. Like, there are very few people, really, maybe only one or two that really know what's happening. And that, because I mean, look, let's stop beating around the bush here. It's Jim Crane's decision. Like, he's just got to do it. Like, he's just got to decide what's going to happen. And, maybe he has, and it just hasn't been communicated well. But as I spent this whole week, and I can tell you with pretty certainty that not only within the organization, but outside the organization, teams that are rival teams, guys that are checking in with people within the Astros organization, like, no one knows what's going on. Look, it could be as easy as there's Jim does something this week where it's like, yep, you know what, you guys are coming back, and okay, great, and then they'll move on and it's business as usual. I don't know that it goes like that, but who knows? I am just as in the dark as basically everyone. But one thing I will say, do not take like the silence since Tuesday, that end of season press conference, like, don't take the lack of like announcements or the silence since then to be like, oh, like, they're both coming back, everything's great, and like they're all ready to go. Like, that is not the case. That is not what's going on here. There's still a lot unknown. There's still a lot up in the air. But we'll follow it along and we'll see, because again, I do not know. Like, you joke that like I'm holding stuff back. Like, I have told you everything I know, which is very little. Which makes me great at my job, obviously. That's why people want to listen to this podcast, for me to say I don't know what's going on with the team I'm paid to cover.
I think you're lying to us. I think you know all of it, and you're just keeping it for yourself. You and your precious clicks. You hide them behind the paywalls, and you don't let us read it. That's all. You already know Martin Maldonado has signed a 7-year contract to be the Astros head coach, and you're just not telling anyone.
Did you just call the Astros head coach? Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
And GM. It's going to do both. And you know it, and they're not letting him announce it.
Where does that leave Jeff Bagwell?
Well, he's the director of player operations.
Yeah, did I say that out loud?
Mm-hmm.
Great. Whenever we get more clarity on this, we will come back to you. I do expect, I don't want to put a timeline on it, because the minute you put a timeline on it, like, things can change. But again, as we have talked about, like, I find it hard to believe that they can keep dragging this on. Like, they're going to have to, because for no other reason than if they're going to need to hire people, then like they need to start that process. Like, the GM meetings are in a month in Vegas, and you don't have to go, you don't have to be represented at the GM meetings, I guess. Like, but I mean, they weren't in 2022 when they sent James Click up as a lame duck. But I mean, the GM meetings is where a lot of stuff gets done. Like, it sets the groundwork for a lot of trades, sets the groundwork with agents for guys you want to sign. A lot of stuff happens there. So they probably need to have, if there is going to be a change, or if there is, I think everyone needs to know what's happening by then. So they've got a month, and which would lead me to believe that if they do need to do searches, then they probably need to get going on that. So I would imagine it's going to be pretty soon that we know something. I'm not going to put a date on it. I'm not going to put a time on it. I don't know. But whenever it happens, we'll come back to you and we will discuss who is running the Astros after we just we gave them all the material they need right here. They have the offseason plan. We just gave it to them. So don't really need to do much. So they can listen to this and they can follow me at Chandler_Rome, potential candidates, prospective candidates for a job that's not even open or could not even be open. Who knows? Follow me at Chandler_Rome. You can follow Tyler at Tyler C. Stafford. As always, please rate and review us on Apple and Spotify. You can subscribe to the Crush City Territory YouTube channel so you can get notified anytime we post a new episode. Like I said, we will be back next week with whatever updates come from Union Station and Dyken Park to see what is the next step for the Astros as they navigate an October away from the postseason for the first time in 9 years. So thank you guys as always for listening, and we will talk to you soon.
When you think about it, with as bad as the Astros were and with no news coming on, it's actually romantic that we came on and talked about them as much as we did. Bye.